I believe we are live now. So welcome everybody back. We are back as the Cocktail Critics. We are going in preparation for Season 2. I have here myself, Elizabeth, and Mike, who are players in the first Cocktail Party. So what we're going to do tonight is, so I guess a little more behind-the-scenes stuff for you guys who, you Cocktail Critics, you guys who have followed us throughout the whole, what we do, like 6 episodes, Cocktail Critics. Some more background information here. So in the original Cocktail Party, I wrote the rules all by myself and released them, I think, 2 weeks in advance before the game started. And just tried to field as many questions as I could online. And then during the game as well, there was a lot of questions being asked. And there seemed to be a lot of confusion, especially in round 3, which we did talk about in the podcast, where there was a big rule argument. So in order to avoid that kind of a thing this year, we are going to go through the rules. The rules have changed, and just try to talk them through and just try to make them as clear as possible so that we won't have this rule issue. And then this way also, people who can't read are also able to play this season. So that's also a huge highlight in my opinion.
That really opens up our guest list.
Yeah, we probably 15 people who we tried to invite and they said, sorry, I can't read. So we're gonna really make it easier for them this season. So you guys ready to get started?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm just going to start reading, and you guys, we talked about it already, but just stop me if you have any questions or things you want to change. So the Cocktail Party is a game that consists of 8 rounds. During each round, 1 player will be eliminated until there are only 2 players remaining. Once 2 players remain, the game enters a jury phase, where 1 player will be determined the winner. The player will win a prize of $100 or whatever it ends up being this year, and the title of Master of whoever. So example, so Jacob was Master Jacob. It's very, it's a classic cheesy reality show.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I spoil 6 people, I'm not going to feel too bad. So the first round works as follows. 1, someone will volunteer to be the dinner host. There can only be 1 dinner host. In the event there is more than 1 person who wants to be the dinner host, all players who want to be the dinner host will attend a host summit. This is something you saw in the first episode of the season with Elizabeth and Sarah, if you need clarification on that. At the summit, all host candidates will attempt to come to a consensus on who will be the host for that round. If they cannot decide, the players who are not running for dinner host will vote. If the vote is tied, the eliminated players will vote. If that vote is tied, the host will be decided randomly. Now, I think, Mike, during a podcast, you had suggested maybe changing this, and I didn't. But did we have some other thing changed? Did you want to change this rule in any way?
I don't recall.
I don't remember either. I had it highlighted, and then I was like, I'm not sure what the change was.
I have a lot of thoughts, and they just go through. And
that's okay. We can keep going. We'll keep going. If it comes to you, let me know. So the second part of the first round, the dinner host, once determined, is in charge of 2 things: the seating arrangement of everyone at the dinner party, all the players that are playing, including themselves, and which player will drink the poison. Before the round starts, the dinner host, and only the dinner host, will be shown a card that details which drink at the dinner table has been poisoned. The card detailing this information will not be given to the dinner host. The dinner host will only be shown the card once, but he or she can make his or her own copy to remember. The dinner host then has 30 minutes to decide where everyone will sit. The dinner host will do this by placing seating cards in front of this is a change from an old rule. So the dinner host has 30 minutes to decide where everyone will sit, and they do this by placing all the seating cards in front of the table. It's a strict 30-minute timeline this season. The dinner host declares that it is time for the dinner party by doing these 3 things: placing each nameplate in front of each seat, like I said before, ringing the dinner bell, and saying dinner is served. This is also at the end of almost every, well, not the very end, but towards the end of most episodes of the show, if you need an example of that. If the dinner host does not do this within 30 minutes, he or she is automatically eliminated. However, the dinner host cannot be held from doing this against his or her own will. And if the dinner host is eliminated, the next round starts. So that rule would only really occur, I don't know if the dinner host fell asleep or if the dinner host could not decide at the end of 30 minutes.
Very indecisive.
What do you say?
You have to be very indecisive.
Yeah, you have to really be but it could happen.
Yeah.
So once the dinner host performs step 5, which is the putting all the dinner plates and saying dinner is served, ringing the bell. Players must immediately take their assigned seats. At this point, only the host can speak. So I want to stop here because I almost took this rule out because we didn't follow this rule last season, and I felt almost okay with that. I felt like a lot of exciting things actually happened at the dinner table, even though people were not technically allowed to speak.
Who was like? What sort of things were spoken? I don't really recall.
Yeah, I don't even remember this really being a rule, or yeah.
Well, there's like Mike, like
me and Jordan.
Yeah, like the Jordan thing. Like when you
I whispered to Diane a couple times too, I think, now that I remember.
and then when you're eliminated, Mike, there's like like everyone's like big mistake, like there's like like, there's just like a lot of. But I thought it was kind of fun, so I don't know. Do we keep this only the host can speak? Well, actually, I think I'm thinking ahead. We might have to keep it. So for right now, let's keep it unless you guys are totally against that.
No, we could, if we could let that be lenient if we want to, but keep it in the rules just in case, we need to forcefully shut anything down.
Mm-hmm. It also could be like, you guys could follow the rules like Jeff Probst follows the rules where like they exist. So like if he needs to use them, he can. But like if it's good YouTube television, just let it fly. So the dinner host, after everyone is seated, everyone is supposed to be silent. The dinner host will say a few words, inviting everyone to his or her dinner party and explaining the choices he or she made if he or she chooses, and will end with his or her speech with a toast. Everyone will toast by holding up their glasses in the air. The lights will go out, a black light will turn on. The glass that glows in the dark is the poison cup. All players drink. The person with the poison cup is eliminated from the game. With their last dying breath, the poisoned person publicly gives an antidote to a player left in the game. Whoever takes the antidote cannot be poisoned in the next round. And the player who receives the antidote does not have to be the same person who uses the antidote. And then one rule change that we talked about a second ago that I want to add is the same player cannot receive an antidote in back-to-back rounds. So you can't that way a player can't just get antidotes the whole game and get to the end. Because I was thinking about that a little bit with the way the jury system works at the end.
That's like double rewarding. You're like
So go ahead.
No, I like that because theoretically then the same person could get the antidote round after round after round, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're trying to eliminate.
Yeah, and I think that's what we kind of saw last season with Jacob.
Right. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right. So then at that point, once the antidote is given to from the dying player to a remaining player, round 2 begins and is essentially the same. However, from this point on, the poison players will resolve anything that ends in a tie. That didn't really come into play last season. So that's none of that has really changed.
Say that one more time.
So round 2 begins and is essentially the same. However, from this point on, the poison players decide anything that ends in a tie.
Yeah.
So that's all pretty similar. If anyone who's watching this didn't understand, you can just watch any episode of the Cocktail Party, and it follows through that pretty basically. I don't think anything has changed on that except for the antidote rule is you can't do it the whole game. Go ahead. Oh, okay, never mind. So those are the basic turn of events. Here are other very important features of the game. Here are where a lot of the changes come into play. All votes happen simultaneously. That wasn't in the rules before, but I think that's what we did last season, and it was much more exciting than voting one by one. So every vote will be like a reveal like we did last season with the chips.
Okay. Yeah.
That way you can't see, like before me are voting this person, so I should vote that person too.
Right. Yeah, no, I liked how we did it, and then all revealed at one time.
Mm-hmm. Each player starts the game with one invitation. Every player except the dinner host will receive an invitation before each round of the game. These invitations can be traded freely and used in the following ways. 2 invitations can be traded into production, which will be you guys this season, to learn which seat has been poisoned that round. And that works the same way with the dinner host, where they see the card, but they can't keep it. So they can make their own copy of the card, but they can't keep it. And the only reason that rule exists is because I just don't want any one player to be like, here, I have the official card.
Yeah.
I just, mistrust.
No, create some level of uncertainty still if they choose to share the information.
Mm-hmm. 4 invitations can be traded into production to have the ability to switch seats with anyone at the dinner party. Doing this action does not show you which seat has been poisoned. You do not have this. You do not have to switch seats the same round that you buy this ability, and you must announce that you're using this ability before you sit down. Okay, here are the new things. 6 invitations can be traded in to get a second glass for the round. That's something that you and Mike and me had talked about, and I thought that was interesting. So you can use that glass to manipulate votes and coups and those kinds of things. So I just put that in the game. Is that
Is that a lot of invitations for that?
I think it's a lot. We could lower it. The thing is that I was thinking is, okay, so another thing we need to talk through too. We can talk about if we want to lower it, and then we can talk about you don't have to use it that round, right? Or do you?
I don't know. I would think just from the I would think you would have to buy it before you sit down and then sit down with it. That's how I pictured it in my head, and then everyone would see that it was there.
Okay.
Because it's a physical glass.
You couldn't just keep it with you after you bought it. You have to sit down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have it if you want to carry around a glass.
And then another thing would be, at what point do we put it on the table? Do we put it on the table as soon as it's purchased? Because then I feel like that.
I would say you put it on the table. I would think that would come in maybe after the seat switch, but before you sit down, or just anytime before you sit down. Like when you sit, like if you're going to use it on the table, you have to do it like set it down when you sit down. That's what I would think.
Okay. All right. So do you think 6 is too much? Should we lower it to? Should it be a 4 thing or 5?
I would think 4. I mean, I feel like the seat swap is more valuable than that.
Okay.
Or at most the same value.
Okay. I'm fine with 4. What do you think, Elizabeth?
That works for me. I mean, yeah, Mike, your point about the seat swap makes sense. So 4 is fine.
Okay, let's move it to 4 then. So, and then the last one, and this might be too high too, but I'm not sure. 15 invitations can be traded in to allow a player to move the poison cup after it has been revealed.
And this would be after all antidotes are played, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you switch it, so if you're poisoned, if I have an antidote and I don't play it in my glass because I know you're poisoned, but then after it's revealed, you decide to do this and switch it with me, I can't put the poison in, or I can't put the antidote in, correct?
Yep, you're right. Yep.
Okay. Then I think it needs to be very costly.
Yeah.
15. I feel like 15 is too high though, because that would need like 3 people to pitch in. I feel like. So there's I feel like 8 or 10.
I was gonna say 10.
Definitely, I feel like you definitely need to have at least 2 people in to be able to afford this. Mm-hmm. 2 people have to be willing to pool money. Mm-hmm. But even 10 though, that's 5 rounds in before you can do it. 8 or 10, I would think.
Let's stick with 10 just because, and we can change this.
Better to be too expensive.
We'll post it. Yeah. Just because we don't know how many players are going to play yet. We don't know how many rounds exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I calculated this off 9 rounds. I don't remember exactly
9 rounds?
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I'm sorry, not 9 rounds, 9 players. So
okay.
8 rounds?
7
Whatever.
rounds.
7 rounds, yeah. I don't know. That's the number. So once we figure out how many players we have, I would like to take the total of invitations in the game and then probably decide from there. But right now, let's keep it at 10. I like the 10 is good. Okay, so this is
It could never get used with 15, I don't think. I'd be very surprised if you had enough people able to pool to
That's
get
true.
15.
So I guess what I wasn't thinking about was that by the time you have enough invitations to share, there'll be less players in the game. I wasn't thinking about necessarily where I was thinking. that you'd have more invitations and there'd be more people in the game. But yeah, so okay. And then so here's another new rule: invitations cannot be traded or spent once the players are called to dinner. So this is something that I feel like last season there was, like if the glass would be poisoned, I think you and then Jack both, if the poison glass would have the antidote in it, people would then, after it was a random draw, play the find where the poison is card. And just to make it harder on the players this season, I would like to make it so you cannot trade or spend invitations once that dinner bell is rung. So as soon as everyone sits down, I guess once the dinner bell is rung. So before you sit down, as soon as the bell is rung, you cannot trade or spend invitations until the next round begins.
Okay, I like it.
I'm okay with that.
I'm trying to think of the repercussions if the antidote's used, whether I think that, I like it.
Okay. So I'm going to keep moving. You are never required to say or show how many invitations you have to another player. In the event the dinner host is not to your liking, you can attempt to stage a coup. To stage a coup, 2/3 of the remaining players, rounding up and excluding the final 3, that's just a bunch of nonsense almost, must agree to coup the dinner host. So then I have a chart where it makes a little more sense.
Okay.
Where it's 9 players.
So this is more than it was when we played. We played, it was half.
Was it half? I liked whatever we did last season. This might be an old rule that I didn't update.
I don't know. I think we just followed whatever chart you had last time, but I don't remember what the ratio was.
So
it was 1/2 because in round 2 with 7 people it needed 4 to coup.
With 7 people. Okay, and I have 5.
I should have been the 4th.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's true. So yeah, let's do half then. So half going up.
Right.
Rounding up, yeah.
Rounding up.
Okay, so it'd be 9 would be 5, 8 would be 4, 7 players would be 4.
Yeah.
6 players would be 4 still.
3.
Oh no, 3. I'm flipping between pages here. 5 players would be 3, 4 players would be 2, and then the final 3 is also 2.
Yeah.
Okay. If at the end of the dinner host speech, the required amount of players do not toast the dinner host by lifting their glasses in the air, the dinner host is forced to drink the poison and is eliminated from the game. So that's similar thing, and the dinner host will then give someone an antidote. So I know that's the rule that we had an issue with last time, and I think I fixed it with the next part. So let me read the next part before we talk about the part I just read. So here's the order of actions for each dinner party. 1, the player can play a switch seats card. 2, the player can play an antidote.
Yeah, that's the part there that...
Yeah. 3, the host makes a toast. 4, the player can use an extra glass if they have one. Is that the right spot there? That's the first time it would get put into play, right?
Yeah, I would definitely, between 1 and 2, I would put players sit down.
Right.
Just to make it clear.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where I would say the glass has to be on the table before the host makes a toast. I would think then it's not just like pulling things out of your pocket.
Okay.
But I'd be okay with it left how it is.
Where's your head, Elizabeth?
Wait, so say that one more time.
So we're talking about where the player should be able to use the extra glass if they have one, and basically the extra glass is the only way that I can picture it. Maybe it can be used other ways. Is to influence the coup.
Right.
So we're talking about either having it. So the players. So I'll just read from the beginning. The players can play a switch seat card. The players set. The players can play an antidote, and then we either want the host makes a toast, or I screwed it up, didn't I?
Hold on. I think we also need to change it. Instead of saying players, I think we need to do glasses.
Why?
Because like if I don't want a coup to happen, and there's if there's 6 players and 3 people are going to coup, I could put a glass that I can toast with. Do you know what I mean? So then there's 7 glasses, and now it needs 4. You're
Okay.
looking at me like I'm speaking like.
I'm thinking through it.
Okay.
So just tell me how would you word it? Let's start with that.
I would word it if there are 9 glasses on the table, 5 of them have to be not raised.
Okay, you're all the way back there. I wasn't even thinking that. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. On the chart you're talking about?
Yeah, because that way someone isn't saying, you know what I mean? That way it goes by the number of glasses, not by the number of players. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
I was still thinking about the order of play. That's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
By number of glasses rather than number of people for a coup.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's 6 people, it would take 3 to coup. But if 2 people brought out glasses, then it would take 4 to coup, because there's now 8 glasses that can either be raised or not raised.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. So. Okay. So let's go back to that order then. So the players can play a switch seats card, and this is the part that I thought would be the hardest to get through. So it's kind of as I expected. The players who can play a switch seat card, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. 2, the player's set. 3, the player can use an extra glass if they have one. 4, the host.
Antidotes before the glass, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Switch seats, sit, antidote, extra glass, toast. And this isn't the whole order. It's just what we've gone over so far. Is that a good order?
That's what I think. But if you guys disagree.
I'm fine with that.
So if they have an antidote, it would come out before the toast. That's what you're saying.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just thinking about
that's different than what we did, because for me, it makes it harder for a person with an antidote. Like for me, with having the antidote, I could wait and see, and if I'm expecting a coup and a coup doesn't happen, then I know I need to use my antidote. But this would make me choose whether I use the antidote before the coup, which is, I think, better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about, like, in Survivor, how they vote first, and then they reveal the immunity idols, and then Jeff reads them. But obviously, he doesn't, like, read them first, and then they bring out their hidden immunity idol. So that's the same sort of deal. Right. So, yeah, that's the same deal. So, yeah, so they have to use their antidote before toasting.
Ooh, super antidote?
Yeah, let's, put it on the twist list, but we have to call it the Tyler Perry. So switch seat card, players set, players can play antidotes, players can use an extra glass if they have one, the host makes a toast, everyone toasts or refuses to toast the host, the poison glass is revealed, the players can play a move poison glass card, the players drink, a player is poisoned, the poison player gives an antidote to a player still in the game.
Hold on.
And then step 9 is we became the most complicated reality show to ever exist.
Wait, go back to...
We still don't have anything about a host being able to, about, like, in a coup situation, the host. Or is that later? Like, this doesn't really ever say anywhere that a host can...
Well, okay, so antidotes can only be played in step, well, it would be 3 now, because it's players switch seats, players set, plays the antidote. So if the antidote, or I'm sorry, if the dinner host...
Oh, that's right. The whole rule is different. Or no.
The dinner host thinks they're going to be poisoned. Really, their only option is to put the antidote into the poison glass, which is the person they wanted out of the game. Does that make sense?
So by these rules, what happened in round 3 would not have happened again. Like it would have been a different ruling with this set of rules.
Yes.
It would have been the ruling that everyone thought would happen.
So like, okay, so let's say I wish I had like a whiteboard or something. So okay, let's say the 3 of us are playing.
Okay.
I'm the dinner host, and you two are playing. Let's just take and let's say I have the antidote.
Okay.
I know that you two are going to coup me.
Okay.
I put the poison glass in front of Michael.
Okay.
If I feel confident that you two are going to coup me, my only option then, in theory, is to put the antidote into Michael's cup. Because if you guys coup me, I'll be safe at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the problem there is that tips off where the poison is.
Right.
Wait. If we coup you, how will you be safe by putting the antidote in Michael's glass?
Because he would have to drink the poison glass, which now has an antidote in it.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm with you now. Okay.
And we'll get to what happens when someone drinks a now safe glass, an antidote, full glass of the poison. That rule's different too. We'll get to that in a second. But does that make sense so far?
Yes.
So basically, if you're the dinner host, in most situations, a antidote isn't going to help you against a coup.
Right.
Unless you pick your spot. Unless you
just go like, well, this whole round is ruined. You know what I mean? Like I'll just ruin everything I did.
Yeah, I like that because the other way gave like immense power to, like if the antidote holder should always try to be dinner host the old way because they're just completely immune and all powerful.
Yeah, didn't work. Okay, so I'm going to read through that list one more time for if anyone's still listening to us in the future. Just so we're 100% clear, this is probably the most important part of the game, rules-wise.
Okay.
So this is the order of actions for each dinner party.
Okay.
1, the players can play a switch seats card.
Yes.
2, the players sit down.
Yes.
In their assigned seats.
Yes.
Unless they've switched. 3, the player can use an extra glass if they have one.
Okay.
4, the host makes a toast. 5, everyone toasts or refuses to toast the host.
Got it.
6, the poison glass is revealed. 7, the players can play a move the poisoned glass card. 6, the players drink. 7, a player is poisoned. 8, the poisoned player gives the antidote to a player still in the game. At that point, it resets to the beginning of the round. And then here's one more additional thing. If 2 or more players want to perform the same action and cannot agree on the order in which the player will take the action, rocks decide the order randomly. I also told with this role we can make the decision now where the dinner host decides the order. What do you guys think?
In one situation where 2 people be trying to perform the same, like seat swap switches, that's the only one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only one. Yeah.
I would say whoever tried to do it first.
Well, but what I'm worried about is people just standing there in silence.
Oh, okay. Like waiting for the other person to make the first move. Yeah. Well, in that case, you both sit down. Like
okay.
Wait, so say that rule again one more time.
So what I'm worried about is I'm worried about 2 people or 3 people wanting to all switch seats.
Gotcha.
But I don't, let's say I want to switch seats with Mike, but I don't want to necessarily waste my switch seats if I know he also has to switch seats. Like stuff like that. So to determine the order of that, how do we want to do that? Maybe Mike is saying, if they don't.
Well, that doesn't matter because, well, I guess, I wouldn't use mine unless you used yours first.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think it all plays out that.
Do we put like a time limit? Do we just put like you have 30 seconds to switch seats? You know what I mean? Would that solve that issue a little better?
I feel like as the host, you say, sit right now or sit down.
Okay, that's fine with me.
But let's just say in case there's a rule situation that I'm not thinking of, let's say dinner host has that power.
Dinner host? What do you think about that, Elizabeth?
But that shouldn't come into play with seat switches.
So you're saying that the dinner host should decide who gets to switch seats first?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say, I mean, a dinner host can't stop somebody from switching a seat. So, I mean, I feel like it should be whoever switches their seat first switches their seat first. The dinner host just comes in if there's some sort of unbreakable situation but as far as seat switches go, this should never be a thing.
Hopefully.
Right. I would assume that there wouldn't be a situation where like two people at the same time stand up and say, I want to switch my seats. In that case, I would say leave it up to
whoever goes first, whoever
chance,
tries
like, flip
first,
a coin or something. But I think you would have, if one person wants to switch their seat, then they do it, and then if somebody else wants to do it, then they do it next.
This only works. This is only an issue if two people are trying to switch into the same seat, which is silly because I don't think this is a necessary rule.
Okay, and then just something coming into my head. Can you switch someone back? No, because you have to be.
Well, if they switch, like if you're poisoned and you switch with me, I could switch you right back into it if I can, if I have a card.
Yeah.
If we both have a card and I know that your seat's poisoned and you flip me into your poisoned seat, I could flip you back, I think.
I would think
why
so.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then do we want to? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, and do we want to switch it? Last season there was a little bit of confusion with it ended up working out. Oh well. Okay. With that, you have to be the person that switches seats. We want a switch seat card can switch any two seats, or it has to be their own and someone else's.
I actually kind of like it being anybody.
I like that it can be anyone. I think that makes it more unpredictable. And
yeah, I would have liked it if that person would have wasted their resources.
All right, okay, let's do that. So that makes it easier too, because it's a more blanket statement. Because like,
although, do we have it written in any rules that you can't switch with the dinner host? Is that in there?
it should. I'll add it if it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should definitely be in the rules.
Yeah. Let me add it right now.
So you can have any two people switch seats, except nobody can go into the dinner host's position.
Okay. Can the dinner host switch out?
Can the dinner host use a switch seat?
I like that. Then they can switch themselves into the poison and then use their antidote then. Crap, I'm giving away.
Well, but you could, if you can use a switch seat on anyone, I would assume you could also use an antidote on anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So can the dinner host switch seats, but no one can switch seats with the dinner host?
Well, the cards are set up so that the dinner host can't be the one who's poisoned.
Except for like
except on a revote.
Yeah.
Or
like a coup.
Or a successful antidote, I mean.
Let's just say the dinner host can't switch seats because then they can't. We have to work out like the coup issue. There's just like too many issues there, I think.
Okay. So it's really just any other players besides the dinner host.
Yeah.
Switch seats and make whatever two people switch seats, but nobody can go into the dinner host position.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. In the event that no one wants to be the dinner host, all players except for the player who was the dinner host in the previous round will draw rocks. I want to change that. I'm trying to. I've done a couple of drafts through this. I try to eliminate as much randomness as possible. I don't know how.
I would say a vote. I would say. Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, vote works.
Okay. No one's dinner host. All players except. Okay, so does the player who's the previous dinner host, are they still immune from being the dinner host next round?
Yes.
I think so too.
I think so too. And
was that a rule that you can't be the dinner host twice in a row?
No, this is only a rule that if no one wants to be the dinner host, then the previous dinner host doesn't have to be. I was thinking that just because the dinner host generally takes heat. So like if they don't want to be the dinner host next round, they should be able
everyone.
to say. What do you say?
I would think anyone.
You want to think of anyone?
Why not?
It doesn't matter to me.
No one's safe.
What do you
Anyone
wanna
can be
know?
dinner host.
I like it more that they're ineligible to be the next dinner host, but they're allowed to vote for the new one.
Okay, that's what I was leaning towards too.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna override Michael there. Previous round. In the event no one is dinner host, all players except for the dinner host previous round are eligible by vote. Okay. Okay, so the person who was given the antidote does not have to play the antidote on him or herself, but does have to play the antidote at the dinner party in the next round. So this is another set of new rules here. If the person who drinks the antidote also drinks the poison, they are immune and they immediately become the new dinner host. At this point, the old dinner host and every player except the new dinner host will leave the table. The new dinner host will reset the table. During this time, the new dinner host cannot talk to any players, and no invitations can be spent. The order of actions for the dinner party then restarts. What do you think about that?
Okay. So basically, just a new round begins immediately, but there are no invitations. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. It's not a new round. It's a kind of a replay of the same round with a new dinner host, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like just going back to the first season, in the when let's say you were poisoned and I chose to pour my antidote into your glass.
Yeah.
You would then become the new dinner host of that same round. Because under the old system, I couldn't save you because then I'd be open to the random draw.
Gotcha.
But this gives you the opportunity to save someone if you trust them to.
Okay.
And then also there's no discussion at that point. So like if Mike plays an antidote on your glass and then you become the dinner host. Let's say I'm the old dinner host. Mm-hmm. I'm no longer the dinner host. Everyone's still in the game, leaves the room except for you.
Okay.
And you're going to decide who gets poisoned. And then we'd have to have someone in that other room making sure no one's talking. Because,
okay, so it's just like a quick, immediate kind of review thing of the dinner table portion.
Yeah. Because what I'm worried about is
new plans.
If we don't watch those people over there, they're going to be like, well, let's just coup the new dinner host, which could still happen. But I think the silence is going to be key there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. Are you good with those, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I have a very long example, but I feel like we covered it. When 3 players are left in the game, whoever was given the antidote by the person who was poisoned in the previous round instantly becomes the dinner host. So that's the same rules. Where in the final 3, I think you gave the antidote to Jacob, Michael, and then he became the dinner host. Poison players are required to stay until the end of the game. They can watch, help film, and break ties by votes, but they are not allowed to talk to any players still left in the game. They can, however, talk to players who are also poisoned. That's the same rule. Players still left in the game are not allowed to talk to the poison players.
Should we keep poison players like in a room?
I don't know.
Like, was that good or bad that Moose was like everywhere?
I really don't know. I mean, I think from like a show perspective, probably bad, but like from a voting perspective, probably good.
Yeah, I think from like a jury perspective, it's okay that they roam around so they know a little bit more of what's going on. Because like if you think about Survivor, the jury knows a lot more of what's going on based on tribal council.
Yeah, but that means they could watch the dinner table, not that'd be like the jury being on the island. Like if you know what I mean, the roaming around is equivalent. Like I'd be cool with letting them watch the dinner table scene.
Oh, interesting.
To me, it's more just from a show perspective on not having dead people in the scenes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Well, yeah.
We didn't have it, but I am afraid of things being spoken that shouldn't too.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it happened the last time, but it could.
Here's I'll vocalize this concern.
That people will get bored or
from like a friendship perspective, like I think it's already hard to ask someone to devote what might be 6 hours of their day to something, and then to also ask them to sit in a room for possibly 5 hours of that is kind of where I think that's kind of why I made the decision. Maybe we can make some kind of more exact rules on location, or like before we start, where like we could say like we don't want players in the basement, maybe, or like
it'll be the summer. We could like let them play in the yard.
That's true. They could go outside.
It'll be like little like Camp Ponderosa, either out in the yard or like a board
and
game.
And then they get brought back in to watch the.
That's actually a really good table. I like the outside thing a lot. Yeah. Let's get them outside.
Okay.
Okay. So where was I? Oh, okay. Okay. So when only 2 players remain, the game enters its jury phase. The 2 remaining players will be addressed by all the poison players. The 2 remaining players will address all of the poison players, explaining why they played the best game. Each poison player will get asked Each poison player will get to ask the remaining 2 players 1 question. The 2 remaining players will make a closing statement. Each poison player will write down the name of who they felt played the best game and give their votes to production. The final dinner party begins. It's going to work exactly the same way, where they come in one at a time and take a seat at whatever half of the table they voted for. That's that. Whoever gets the most votes wins. Do you think we would be able to pull off something like I did in this most recent season of Survivor with like the more free talk aspect of it, or do you think that's
why not? I mean, as long as whoever's leading it, whether it be myself or Elizabeth, keeps control of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I personally liked it way more this season, where it had more conversation, because you saw Zeke kind of saying, no, I'm championing for this person, and then you have Ozzy saying, no, I think this person did better. And so almost like the jury you can see what's going on in the jury's minds a little bit more. And like at that point, the jury is trying to sway each other. Not only are the sway the jury members are trying to sway each other on who they think should win.
Right. So then I will say one more thing too about that, or 2 more things. The first, let's try this. If it doesn't work, let's just restart. Like the viewers never have to know, except for the 0 people that are watching right now. They're the only ones who will know. I think this podcast is way more for the people who are going to play the game. I hope that they'll listen to it more than the people who watch the show. And so like we can just restart it if it doesn't work out. And then 2, the biggest complaint that I saw online about this new jury system is that people are feeling that Jeff swayed the jury. Whoever runs that, or even both of you could run that, just be really careful about not interjecting your own thoughts or opinions on it.
Mm-hmm. And I think Mike and I could come up with topics beforehand, or different questions. We can think of questions throughout the day to kind of lead it in a way that, to make sure that kind of everything is hopefully touched upon and we didn't miss anything or miss anyone. I don't know if that would seem too biased, though, that if we try to lead it, but like hopefully do a good job of moderating it in an unbiased way.
I think so. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And you, Elizabeth, have some skills with some moderation and debates and such things. So maybe, that skill set will come into play. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So with that, that's the game. Any conflicts that are not addressed will be decided on spot by production, which you guys do. And then I'm thinking one rule that I forgot to put in: no sharing the money. How did I forget that one?
Yeah.
You just last thing is just. I'll just write that in right now. Go ahead.
Was there anything else that you had? Because I hate to go back to that really long list of rules again, but I just wanted to clarify something real quick or make sure that I understood it. Can you go back through that long list of the order again? We're number one.
Order of operations.
Yeah.
Yes, the order of operation.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we just read through them? Okay.
Yeah, I'll stop you when I need to.
Okay. So number 1, the players can play a switch seats card.
Right.
Number 2, the players are going to sit down.
Okay.
Number 3, the players can play antidotes.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Number 4, the players can use an extra glass if they have one.
Okay.
Number 5, the host makes a toast.
Yep.
Number 6, everyone toasts or refuses to toast the host.
Okay.
Number 6, the poison glass is revealed. Number 7, the players can play a move the poison glass card.
Okay, wait. So that's what can you remind me what a move the poison, I'm assuming it's exactly what it says, but I just forget.
That's
so
the 10 pointer or the 10 invitation one.
Okay. So that's.
So if you have that, it could be when everyone's raising the cups in the air and it's revealed who has the poison, then you could pull out that 10 invitation card and say, I'm switching the poison.
Okay. That was just what I didn't remember right away, and I wanted to make sure I got it. Okay. That's it.
Okay. And then I'll just finish it out. The players drink, and the players a player is poisoned, and then the poison player gives the antidote to a player still in the game.
Yep.
The only scenario where this situation will be repeated is where if the person who is poisoned also drank the antidote.
Right.
At that point, they become the dinner host, and then the table gets reshuffled. Everyone else leaves. They come back, and everything restarts.
Right.
All right. Are we locking in with these rules? Do you guys have any other rules you can think of?
I'm content.
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me.
All right, we're locked in. So
hold on. A couple.
We're locked in. No, I'm just kidding.
Couple small rules.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, these are not so much rules as tips for the players.
Mm-hmm.
Give many confessionals.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a point of production that we are going to force people to give confessionals if they're not.
That's something actually. Thanks for reminding me about this. Something I did want to talk about. Why don't we put a number on it? Why don't we say we need this many confessionals per round? If you don't give us this many confessionals, we'll pull you and you have to come. At times, it'll probably be inconvenient to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
I think it should start
once
off
in between every round.
Yeah. Yes, that will happen.
Once in between every round, and then how about a minimum of once in the early rounds, and then once we get down to half the players, then you have to do 2 per round. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was saying in the beginning rounds, a minimum of 1 per round, and then as we continue on, you have to either do 2 or 3 depending on what round we're on.
Okay.
And I think something, that we saw with the first season that I think Mike and I were good with was because, if people weren't strategizing right in front of the camera or you couldn't hear them or whatever, I know at least I would, and I think Mike would too, try to give recaps of what we were talking about. So I think we need to kind of either give them an example of that or remind them to do that as a part of their confessional.
Yeah, I would like during the round to have one of us posted up in the in the confessional room.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with both of those. So just so I understand you, Elizabeth, you're saying, and I think I understand what you're saying, and I like this. The amount of confessionals they need to do is the same as the number round they're on. Is that what you're trying to?
That wasn't what I was saying. I was saying like maybe in the early rounds, let's say like the first 2 rounds, you have to do at least a minimum of 1.
Should we have the confessional room just kind of be like you get called in regardless and take it out of people's hands, and we just, the dinner host is going to get called in a couple more times just because they have more going on? Like, give us an update on what you're thinking type of thing.
We could do that. Yeah, then we don't have to establish all this, I suppose. It'd be easier to do it that way.
And have
go ahead.
have everyone comes in once minimum, but
you guys can still call them in.
Yeah. The point is, give confessionals. Like, do it.
Yeah. Right. And if we don't feel like they're giving enough confessionals,
We'll call additional.
Yeah, then we'll call them in. Okay. And then what were your thoughts about using the confessional room to strategize?
That was
I say absolutely not to strategize. If you want to give like a dual confessional where you're both there for the purpose of telling what's going on or doing a bit or something like that is fine, but it can't be like for the purpose of having strategy talks. That's my opinion. I would be fully supportive of, if Dean and Leslie are both in the game, to go in there and talk like what they're doing together, tell everyone what their plans are, or to make like jokes about people together if they're a pair,
Yeah. So then I'll talk to you guys about this. I think we're gonna have to need one person in the confessional room if we're gonna allow more than one person in the confessional room.
Yeah.
We're gonna need one of you two in there. And then I'll also so then maybe we just need to clarify, or maybe we can talk about this later if we don't know yet. What's going to be our distinction between strategy and recap? Because I feel like they might be able to overlap. You know what I'm saying? Like
if you're talking to the camera, it's a confessional. If you're talking to the other person, then it's strategy.
That's fair.
That makes sense.
And you can't talk to the camera to like trying to give the other person information. Like it's who the information's going to. If the information's going to the viewers, it's a confessional. If the information's going to each other, it's strategy and should be done like in the rest of the house.
And I'll put it on your guys' discretion. If you feel like the strategy talk is happening,
shut it down.
Shut it down. I would even go as far as
give warnings.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like kick them out. Like, you're talking too much strategy. You need to like leave and come back when you're ready to recap.
Find people invitations.
Well, I would say you could like go downstairs and be like, "Hey guys, these 2 players talking strategy in the confessional room. Here's what they were talking about." You know, if they're gonna do that, if they do it repeatedly and they're not gonna stop you, you get the moment. Whatever you want, however you want to handle. I'll let you guys handle that.
I have one other like tip / rule.
Yeah.
Like speak audibly and stay in the view of a camera. And like if you have to whisper, get very close to the camera to do your whisper session so that it can still be picked up. Or take your phone out and go somewhere private and have your whispered conversation with your phone. Just to make sure that everything, and like you don't want to get in a situation. We had that a little bit last game where something important's happening and there's no real footage and audio of it.
Yeah.
And I will say, we got 2 confessionals, or not confessionals, scenes by via someone's phone, and I thought the one where you and Diana are standing behind a door is one of the most dynamic ones. It's always good from my editing and storytelling perspective to introduce new places in the house, camera angles that the camera can't necessarily find, stuff like that, and it will pick up the audio clearer because it's right by you. And honestly, your cell phone cameras are probably better than some of the cameras that we used last season. Also working on that with I'm in the process of trying to fix that. Fixing the cameras.
And would you want us to bring like my laptop, for instance, or anything else to add more or to get different angles or whatnot? Why
don't we talk about that a different time, just because we're already running a little over. But yeah, if we the short answer yes. But yeah, like why don't we
Okay.
kind of break that down on a different
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
Any other things, or are you ready to move into twists?
Let's move into twists.
All right. Okay, so I have 4 written down. So the way these twists are going to work for people listening, we're going to go through as many twists as we can think of, just so you guys are aware, the people who are listening, of what could be in the game. At that point, Mike and Elizabeth are going to decide on a couple twists to use in the season. I'm not going to know because I'm going to be one of the players, but this way we can get all the twists that we have in our heads out in the air, out in the open, and then you guys will choose them without my knowledge. So
all of these are anything that we're talking about are things that are possible, but nothing is determined.
right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's I'll just start with mine, and then we can go to you guys' too. I'll write them down as we go. Okay. So first one, and I'm not going to add any commentary. There's twists that I don't like and twists that I like more, but I won't say which. So first twist: everyone starts with an antidote. No other antidotes are in the game. So in this scenario, there would not be an antidote passed on at the end of each round from the poison player. That's all gone. Every player just starts with an antidote, and that's it for the whole game.
Okay.
So that's the first twist. Second twist I had: the final juror gets 2 jury votes to determine the winner. I think that's all I'll say on that. I don't want to add too much to these. You guys can if you want. The key twist. So at the beginning of each round, 3 keys are randomly handed out to 3 players still in the game. And then on the counter, like where the food was last season, there's a box with 3 locks on it. Inside the box is an antidote. The antidote can only go to 1 player, but to open it, obviously you need all 3 players to use their keys.
Okay.
And then my 4th twist is called isolation. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, go on, do yours first, because I think it might be similar to that.
Okay. So my 4th one is isolation. So in this one, so we just established that all the players are going to go into the confessional room in between rounds. So to talk about what they think is going on in the game. So in this one, what's going to happen is in that confessional room, there's going to be a bell. And once per game, only 1 player can ring that bell in that confessional room, only in the confessionals that happen in between rounds. If a player rings that bell, they immediately go into isolation. They are out of the game for that round and the first 10 minutes of the next round. They can't be poisoned, but so they get to skip that round that they're currently in, but they miss a third of the next round. So then they can't be dinner hosts essentially in the next round, and they're going to miss a lot of the conversations and talk.
And you wouldn't get the invitation because you missed that portion.
So that can only happen once per the whole game. So if 1 player does it, the bell is removed. So those are my twists. So why don't we, I guess, any questions first?
Well, you completely froze on the very last one, so I never heard the 4th one.
Okay, I'll just repeat it then. Okay. So it's isolation. There's a bell in the room, in the confessional room, in the confessionals that are in between rounds. And then once per game, only 1 player can ring that bell. If they ring the bell, they go into a different room that's not in play in the game. And they're in that room for the entire round and the first 10 minutes of the next round. So they can't be poisoned, but then in the next round, they can't be the dinner host. They won't get an invitation, and they have no idea the dynamics of the players still in the game.
So in between the rounds, in the confessional, they ring the bell, and then that automatically puts them into the secluded room.
Yeah, like they'll immediately stand up. Well, they'll finish their confessional. They'll stand up, go into a different room, and that'll be it. They won't come back downstairs.
So they basically choose to seclude themselves for a round.
Right. A round and then the first 10 minutes of the next round as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. I'm with you.
All right, so those are my twists. So why don't we start with Elizabeth? Do you have any twists, or?
I don't have any twists. However, John mentioned, I kind of have a variation on it that I like.
This one?
The key one.
Okay. What's your variation?
I kind of like the idea of, so let me clarify yours first. So yours is that at the beginning of the game, randomly, however we choose to do that, 3 people will get a key, and right in the kitchen where everybody can see, there will be a box with an antidote in it, but it has 3 locks, so you need all 3 people to open the box, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But part of that, there'd be some sort of diplomacy on who gets what's in the box.
Right, exactly. I like, instead, I like the concept of having the 3 keys or whatever, but to make it, I guess,
Hidden.
it's still random, but slightly less random, or maybe a little bit more strategical. What if instead of having 3 keys, there's a combination lock, and hidden around the house are 3 different numbers? So 3 different, so you're searching for the number. So either 3 different people could each get a number, and you have to figure out who has gotten the other numbers, or one person could get all 3 numbers.
Okay, I like that. I'd say I like that as a different twist. So that's like, it's like you were saying, it's a variation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say keep the twist that I have, and then add onto the list. We could use the a combination lock instead of 3 key locks.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good with me. So let's do that. I'll just write down hidden combo box. Okay, and then also add if you guys end up putting some kind of antidote into the game with your twist, an extra antidote, you'll have to decide on when it can't be used anymore. Like at what point and what round. And that's something that we'll have to cross when we find out how many players are playing and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, so we have that twist. Anything else from you, Elizabeth?
No, I think that's it for now.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead, Mike? Do you have some?
Yeah, it was, kind of a variation on the same ones you guys just mentioned. It would be something where you have an opportunity where you would have to give something up, or there'd be some sort of sacrifice involved, and there'd be a reward for that sacrifice if you were to choose to do it. So it'd be similar to, sitting out of something, or losing the powers of something, or giving up, ticket or invitations, or there'd be something that you'd get a temptation.
Yeah. Okay. Similar, for an example, I guess, for the people listening, something like the antidote that you had last season, where like you got an antidote, but you had to give up your
but it would it'd be like a secret choice that you would have. Like you would either find an opportunity to be presented with this option that no one would know that you would
so
have.
It's something you find in the house.
Find or earn. It's in my mind. I'm not giving away. I don't want to give away too much, but it would be something one person would unknowingly to everyone else be granted an opportunity that would come at a cost, but there'd be a reward if you choose to take it.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess I will say to this twist and the twist before it, if we are going to hide anything in my house, for my sake and my parents' sake, let's do the same thing we did last season, where
ground rules of where
hidden is visible without having to dig into it.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to rebuild my house when it's like
that.
Okay, any other twists?
Yeah, a couple. The possibility, depending on players, a possibility of there either being 2 dinner hosts in the same round, and if that was the case, we would explain how that would happen, but a possibility of having some sort of dual power where 2 people both have or fighting for the same power. A thought of a double round where there's more than one poison.
Okay, you're kind of skipping a little bit, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing is you're saying having 2 dinner hosts, and then another twist would be having a double elimination, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
these will be.
Yeah.
It won't be. It might not be told at the beginning of the game, but it won't be a complete surprise either if they were to happen.
Right.
And then one more, which is unlikely, but if there were a lot of players to begin the game with playing in pairs and being elected dinner host as a pair and being poisoned as a pair before eventually being split up into individual players.
Okay, so playing in pairs for a round. Would you say 1 round or 2 rounds, or what would you say?
The early part of the game. An early part of the game. It would be dependent on players, but that wouldn't be like a full game thing, or it would disperse once we get down to a fair amount of players.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's everything that was on my mind.
All right. Okay. So I'm just going to read through one more time, just so we can get them all on the list. So everyone starts with an antidote. There are no other antidotes in the game. The final juror gets 2 jury votes. The key twist, where 3 keys are randomly handed out to 3 players each round. There's a box with 3 locks on it. Inside is an antidote. Only one person can claim the antidote. Isolation, a player in a confessional is between rounds, can ring a bell, and they're immediately go into isolation, where they're there for that whole round and the first 10 minutes of the next round. This can only happen once per game. A variation on the key twist with a hidden combo lock on the box instead of 3 keys. And then in this scenario, the combination will be hidden in 3 different parts, or maybe more parts or something like that, on pieces of paper around the house somewhere. Some kind of sacrifice twist where you have to give up something to get something else. A double elimination or double host twist, and then possibly playing in pairs for an early part of the game. So those are the twists that we have. So like I said earlier, they're going to decide the twist. I have no part of this conversation. They'll decide it probably sometime closer to when the game begins. And they'll pick
to be clear, there will only be like 1 or 2, or probably at most 3, but probably only like 1 or 2 of those things. It's not like you're going to be hit with every single thing that was just said.
Right. Okay, that's all I have for this whole meeting. Do you guys have anything else before we close it up?
I'm good
for now. Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot. So
I'm excited.
We'll say it officially now. The date that we have picked out is August 19th. Right immediately after this meeting, I'm going to send out 12 invitations to 12 people to play.
I was going to say,
why?
You should send them out secretly, and then like, as people agree, like, post something in a group saying like have a picture of like somebody holding a ticket, like an invitation, or have yourself holding a ticket saying like Adam, you have been invited to.
Well, I ruined that. Maybe next time. So we'll be getting the cast together soon. Hopefully we'll be playing in about, 2 months from now? And then fair warning though, for if any viewers are still watching, this is not going to come out in August. It is going to come out probably, who knows, September, November probably is what I would guess, or if I get really crazy a little earlier. But it's it's gonna be a while. I'm gonna approach it differently this time.
Yeah, don't start releasing it until the whole thing's done.
All right, so that's it. I'm excited. So we'll get moving on this. So I think that's it, guys. So we'll stop the broadcast. Thanks for listening.